So you try to gain some steam amongst women by going on a podcast that 90% of women listen to, and it completely backfired. What is going on, everybody? I hope you guys are all doing well. We know that not everybody is, especially North Carolina, and we're praying for them along with the ones in Tennessee and Florida. But nevertheless, I do hope that you guys are all doing well. Folks, you're watching my channel, Modern Renaissance Man, and I'm Ty Smith. I appreciate you guys all taking time out your day to view this content. Be sure to follow me on all the platforms you see above and below. Also, clicking this right here will allow my content to consistently be recommended to you, and it helps push it out in the YouTube algorithm amongst big channels, because we know channels like this that like to spread the truth, they get heavily suppressed. So it's up to you guys to share the video along with hitting that like. Also, if you would like me to look at a video clip, music reaction, things like that, you guys give me emails all the time asking how can you do that. The best way to do it, go to patreon.com/Modern Renaissance Man and find out how you can do it there, all right? Lastly, hitting the subscribe button right there. Double check to make sure that you still are subscribed to the channel, because YouTube, for some odd reason, mysteriously people are being unsubscribed. Yeah. All right, folks. So I'm keeping this thing going. Kamala Harris goes on to this very popular podcast called Call Her Daddy. Okay. This podcast usually is a podcast that talk about various subjects regarding mainly women type things. You know, and most of the time it's about sex things, right? So Kamala Harris goes on this podcast, and all of a sudden, of all the things she could be doing, she's on there, and this happens.
Let's bring in the former executive director for Draft Biden in 16 and former senior advisor to Bernie Sanders, Will Pierce. Will, thanks for being here. Let's focus on the Call Her Daddy podcast for a moment. You've got Americans literally trying to survive in towns destroyed by a hurricane. You have another hurricane on the way, and today is the 1 year, don't like to call it anniversary, but it marks 1 year since the October 7th massacre. With all that seriousness surrounding us, how does it look that Kamala Harris goes on a comedy podcast to talk about how she's feeling?
Well, Todd, this is the thing. All along during this election, this is what we saw from Kamala Harris. Instead of her focusing on the issues, going on even hard-hitting interviews or half hard-hitting interviews, even at that, she's sitting here and she's just trying to go after her base. If we have Harris as president, this is what we're going to see for another 4 years. Her ignoring the American people, ignoring their needs, and just taking care of herself.
Here's more of Harris explaining why she decided to do this particular interview. Listen.
Why should we trust you? So I'll say this. Look, you can look at my career to know what I care about.
I'm curious, like, you don't do too many long form interviews. What made you want to do Call Her Daddy today?
Well, I think you and your listeners have really got this thing right, which is one of the best ways to communicate with people is to be real.
Be real, Will. She's clearly going for the female vote explicitly with this interview. They've got like 99% versus 1% female listenership. Is this going to work, Will?
I don't think it's going to work. And Harris actually said it right there. Like, you know, if you want to elect her, you could just look at her record. Look at what she did in California. Look at what she did as vice president. Look at, look at the state of our nation right now. Overall, like my personal belief, and I believe it's the belief of countless Americans, we need to put America first. Instead, Harris is sitting here, just ignoring countless Americans down in North Carolina, down in Georgia. But at the same time, look at what's going on in the Democratic Party and in the United States of all. We see countless illegals being taken care of. We see Americans and the economy going down the drain, while Harris is sitting here saying, "Oh, there's joy, and we're a great country."
On the other side, Trump was met with a huge crowd in Butler, Pennsylvania for his big return to the site of the first assassination attempt. And Elon Musk took center stage. Listen.
This election could be decided by 1,000 votes, 500 votes. A tiny margin. So get everyone you know to register to vote. Just be a pest to everyone you know, people on the street everywhere. Vote, vote, vote. Fight, fight, fight. Vote, vote, vote.
Okay, so he asked Does Call Her Daddy podcast move the needle? We'll ask a separate question. Does Elon Musk move the needle, especially with the young male voter?
I think he does. The other thing, too, is this. Like if you look at Silicon Valley traditionally, they don't come out on the Republican side. Elon Musk actually took a step forward and came out in favor of Donald Trump. And then another thing on top of that, you can see he's putting money where his word is as well with his super PAC as well.
I wonder if this election is going to come down to a battle of the sexes. I mean, it sure seems like that's how the campaigns, to a certain extent, want to do it. But these are issues that reunite us all regardless of our gender. And I think that's what's important. I think if they focused on that, that's what the American people want to hear. Will Pierce, thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Now, because she goes on this podcast, it completely enraged a lot of her fans. And this right is coming from the New York Post right here. Call Her Daddy fans blast Alex Cooper, the host, over Kamala Harris interview. Said it feels like propaganda, because it was. Call Her Daddy host Alex Cooper enraged some of her fans over the weekend by dropping a surprise interview with Vice President Kamala Harris on her wildly popular podcast. The podcast Instagram account posted a short teaser video Sunday morning showing Cooper, 30, interviewing the Democratic presidential nominee. However, some daddy gang members, they call them, were not pleased with Harris' appearance on the show and flooded the post comment section to express their frustration and criticize the show for getting political. Somebody wrote, "Done. This was my favorite podcast. I'm 100% disgusted." Somebody else wrote, "I'm so disappointed. This feels like propaganda and trying to make her look Gen Z," commented another daddy fan. A handful of podcast fans also hashed out at Cooper for failing to address more pressing matters with Harris during the interview, like illegal immigration and Biden-Harris administration's response to Hurricane Helen's devastation. Somebody wrote, "Ask her about what she's going to do to help hurricane victims instead of talking in circles about women's rights." Somebody wrote, "Wait, what about the abuse and crime caused by illegal immigrants flooding the country?" Somebody else wrote, "Ask her what's her best and biggest accomplishment in the last 4 years." Harris, 59, spoke of strategies to curtail sexual and other types of domestic violence during an interview, but failed to address the shocking accusations against her husband. Last week, the second gentleman was accused of drunkenly hitting an ex-girlfriend, as reported by the Daily Mail. 3 friends of one of the ex-girlfriends claimed that Imhoff, 59, became intoxicated and slapped her back in 2012. Wait, that's I almost see like he slapped her back to 2012, y'all. No, he slapped her back in May of 2012. Sorry. His reps later gave a flat denial of those accusations. The report is untrue. And Imhoff, a spokesperson, later told Semaphore, adding that any suggestions that he would ever hit a woman is false. However, during her Call Her Daddy appearance, Harris passionately recalled how she began her career as prosecutor, inspired to take on domestic abusers. Well, she did take on one. She married him. One of her best friends in high school, Wanda Kagan, told Harris her stepfather was abusing her, which motivated her, yada, yada, peanut butter, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, the point in saying all this, ladies and gentlemen, is that the fans were not pleased. Y'all didn't get to see that, did y'all? I'm sorry. This is all this that I was reading for you guys. The fans were not pleased with her having Kamala Harris come on the show and not get any real answers. See, some people like to keep things like it is. Like, for example, in our church, people know what I do in regards to YouTube. But while at church, we don't talk politics. We don't at all. But outside the church walls, and people just talking at home in their own comforts of their home, I got my YouTube thing going. You decide to watch me and talk about and hear me talk about it here, that's fine. But at church, we don't talk it. If we're at church and you might have a different perspective than me, we still don't discuss it in church, do we, brothers and sisters? We don't. Y'all wait for me to come over your house when y'all invite me, or y'all come over my house, and then we talk about it then. But at church, we don't do it. My point is saying that, and on a podcast like this, it is apparent that they didn't want any of that there. But Kamala Harris, just like how she reached out to one of these other big time YouTubers, she wanted to get the goddamn on attention. She wanted the attention. She wanted the swag. She wanted the glam. That's all she went on there for, because she knew that this lady has like a huge podcast. In fact, when last time I checked, hers was second to Joe Rogan at one time. 90% women listening. So, of course, Kamala going to go in there and try to do this as a way to get the women voters to look at her, to come towards her, to vote towards her. That's what she did it for. While women are dying and have died as a result of Hurricane Helene, where she offered them a whopping $750. Those should have been questions that I agree that she should have asked. But we all know there's a prerequisite to them coming into things like this. These questions are going to be pre-asked. Give her a card. These are the things that Kamala Harris wishes to talk about. These are the things that she wants to do. That's how it goes. When I went on Fox News, Newsmax, Candace Owens, RT, OAN, Tokyo News, Australian News, Russian News, when I went on any of those platforms, they didn't give me no pre-questions at all. Want to know why? There was no need. Why? Because I knew what I was talking about. In this case, no, absolutely not. That girl couldn't ask Kamala no questions like that. You know what that would have did to Kamala Harris? Yeah. Anyway, folks, let me know what y'all think of this right here. Do you think that Kamala Harris did this for the clout? Do you think she did it for the glam to try to get the numbers because this woman has a huge following? Or do you think she just did it just because she was just trying to be? No, I agree, y'all. I'm sorry, I agree. She was trying to be about Gen Z going to this very popular show, which pissed a lot of them off, and rightfully so. Don't forget to leave y'all comments in the comment section and hit that like button. If you would like to see the next video that I would do in chronological order, it's most likely going to be up here. Otherwise, things down here is what I do as a variety on this channel that you guys may not know that I do. I am Ty Smith, Modern Renaissance Man, hoping and praying that every last one of you have food, shelter, and clothing. And most of all, I pray every last one of you guys are in great health, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. God bless you all through Jesus.